In today's lesson, we're going to take a look at the graph of functions. We're going to be looking at some key features like x-intercept, y-intercept, and we're also going to be looking at intervals. That means we're going to be looking at the shape of the graph and seeing if it increases or decreases and what those points are and ranges. So let's get started with the first equation. I have function of x is x plus 2, and as you can see, it's a straight line. Let's look at the graph a little bit more closely. And what we can see is that we have our x-intercept down to a -2 and our y-intercept at a 2, and the whole function graph is increasing, so it actually increases from x is -infinity all the way up to positive infinity, and that's how we talk about these ranges. Let's move on to a different function. And for now, I just want you to kind of observe, take some notes, and I do have some extra functions available, as you can see, for you to also do some on your own in your graphing calculator at home. So now I'm going to enter x squared minus 4x plus 5. Let's look at that graph. And when we go up close, we can see the y-intercept looks like a 5 to me. And sometimes it's a lot clearer to go into the table function, and so we're going to go ahead and do that. But we do notice that this function actually goes down, is decreasing, and then at the lowest point, it starts increasing. So let's go into that table and actually look at the points. There you go. You see a 5 is my y-intercept, and then we also see that x equals 2, y equals 1. That's the point we were talking about right there. That is my lowest point, and so that means that at that point, so from -infinity down to that 1, x equals 1, it decreases and then it increases after that. We're going to graph our last function here, and I do have 2 additional functions for you to graph on your own later if that's something that you want to take a look at. And we're looking for key features after we graph them. That is your x-intercept, y-intercept, and any increasing and decreasing intervals. Let's look at this graph right here. There's quite a lot happening here. So let's start with x-intercepts. We see that there are 2 x-intercepts. It looks like a -1 and a positive, actually -2 and a +2. And for my y-intercept, it looks like it intercepts right at that 0, at that origin. And so sometimes things are not clear when you're looking at the graph in your calculator. So let's move on to the table function and actually see these points on a table. All right, and right there we're able to see our -2, and our origin is actually our y-intercept, and our +2, we noticed that there was another one, x equals 2, y equals 0, there it is right there. And then what we also notice about this graph is that it has 3 different intervals, right? So it's increasing at one point and then going to the highest point, which in this case would be the -1. The way we define these increasing and decreasing intervals is by looking at their x values. So we're also seeing that it decreases from -1 down to the +1, and then it starts increasing again from x equals 1 to positive infinity. And so I do recognize you might need to watch this video more than once, but the place where students make the most mistakes here is that when we are talking about increasing and decreasing, we are of course looking at how the function moves through the y values, right? Either up or going down from left to right, as if you're reading a book. However, when we are actually writing down these increasing and decreasing intervals, we're only recording the x values. So that's why I say, well, from -infinity all the way up to x equals 1, that's when this function increases in the y value, and from -1 down to a +1, that's when it decreases, and then from the +1 all the way up to infinity again, and of course I'm talking about the x values infinity, it goes all the way up, increasing again. The goal today was just to get you acquainted with these features of the graph for a function, and tomorrow's lesson you're actually going to get to identify the features yourself.